Please like, subscribe, and be sure to click that bell button for regular and exciting indie film content and your chance to be the first to engage with the Liftoff Global Network of Film Festivals as we embark on launching the careers of the filmmakers of tomorrow.
Hello everyone and welcome to today's stream. We are joined by the three winners of the Audience Choice Award from the New York Liftoff Film Festival. We are joined by Mo, Naomi, Eric and Kevin. So welcome guys, welcome to today's stream. Mo, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your project?
Yeah, my name is Mo Rebic. I'm a writer and producer of songs originally, and which then, has encompassed also films and to promote them and share my philosophy. So the Download My Heart series is the world's first app song. I started with Download My Heart in New York, then Download My Heart in London, which you
Yep.
had us on, and Download My Heart in Dubai, Download My Heart in LA, and now Download My Heart in the metaverse.
And that's the project that we'll be seeing here later as the stream goes on. We look forward to that. So stay tuned everyone for the first music video ever to take place in the metaverse. Naomi, hi, welcome to today's stream. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your project?
Hello, my name's Naomi Chattel. This is actually my very first short film, Trespass in Dwelling. It's kind of like a psychological suspense horror film, but with a really, really strong message at the end of self-awareness, self-love, which a lot of our youth and people nowadays need to kind of reconnect with themselves since we're all kind of lost like Moses in the metaverse.
Nice, nice, and beautifully shot. So I cannot wait to find out a little bit more about the technical side of your project as well.
Thank you.
But we'll get to your project a bit later on. So the first project we're going to look at is in fact Eric and Kevin's project. So Eric and Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit more about who you are and your project?
Great. Hi, I'm Eric, and we made the boys film. We're both twins, if you haven't noticed, and we were adopted at birth. And we took a road trip from New Jersey, Portland, Oregon, to visit our birth relatives for the first time, and kind of intersperse the road trip with interviews with family members on both sides, and also home movies from us growing up. So,
Nice.
Kind of a family story, yep.
All right, cool. I'm going to get it loaded our side. So you mentioned there that obviously this is a documentary featuring both of you quite heavily. Obviously, it's a story about your childhood and growing up. Why did you want to make this into a film and share it with the world? Why don't you tell us a little bit more about how this project started? And I will get the film loaded as you do so.
Well, I think
just going to go back to this screen here. Could you say something now?
Test check. Check, 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 check. Okay.
I'm not sure why that is. I need to hear it myself to make sure that it is that. But we are live and we've got 16 people watching, which is really high numbers. It was working earlier, which doesn't make any sense. If someone is watching, could you please just put in the comment if you can hear us or not? And it goes quiet.
I think they said that the moment the video started, the film started, we went silent. But before that,
we were fine. Then it should be working. That's very weird. Once the video stopped, we can hear the speakers. Yes, you can hear us?
Now they can hear us. Interesting.
Very strange.
Oh.
I'm not sure why that is. Well, this is live, so everything is up in the air, so I do apologize. Do we feel like we've seen enough of the film to then continue conversations?
Yeah? I don't mind, just do it this way.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Thank you. We'll try the other films, and if people comment again saying that we can't hear you, we'll do a general conversation, and we might reschedule. Okay, cool. Where were we? Sound issues is a huge problem within independent film and world.
When we upload to YouTube later, can we get the sound back, or?
Hey, it's not upload. This is live, so this is coming straight through.
Right. All right. Okay. Should we retrace our steps at all? No.
Yeah, I think we should just do a quick recap of the things that we spoke about.
So yeah, about the film, I guess.
Yes, let's do like a whole recap of what we can hear.
Yeah, I'll do the elevator pitch.
Yeah, please.
So, me and Ben are twin brothers. We were both adopted at birth, and yeah, we took a road trip from New Jersey to Portland, Oregon to visit our birth relatives for the first time. Our parents were videographers who filmed our entire childhood. And that's kind of how I got into filmmaking. I took a documentary class in college where I had the idea to make the film, but we had the idea for the road trip since we were like 13. And we went out there, interviewed family members on both sides. A lot of who are watching right now screaming at me saying it's been muted the whole time. But I didn't read the text. So, yeah. We had a lot of the support. Yeah, I think the audience choice is just because, honestly, a lot of the California families watching right now, and I know we got quite a few votes from their friends and stuff. So, yeah, people really came through.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, we went on this road trip. I feel like I haven't been really chiming in, but yeah, I did like the music. It was like fun to like work on for the first, it was the first film I really did. I kind of worked on some music videos here and there, but he really went to school and went all the way with it. But yeah, it was really enjoyable experience. It kind of, it took a lot out of us. We worked on it for like, I think the full edit was like a year and change maybe, and then
I had to take a break for a while.
We kind of like we put some cuts out originally, and then we like sort of took like a few years break. Obviously we're not 24 now, we're 34, and then we decided to like kind of like go back to like our original cut and with some things edited, because we were trying to really answer like a lot of questions that were sort of unanswerable, I think, in the second cut we tried, and it just didn't really work out. It didn't seem natural, so we kind of went back to a version of the first, and then and that's kind of where we're at now. I'm like pretty happy with how it all came together.
Yeah, absolutely. A question that I did have, and we did kind of speak about it. It's more like the moments that you absolutely loved within the project, and I just think it's so important from like someone who's at your level, who wants to get into filmmaking, to understand all the joys that you had, but also the things that you had to overcome in order to get this project off the ground. Could you recap some of the things that we spoke about there too?
Yeah, I think, I literally learned. So I remember when we were working on it, we were living together in Jersey City, and Eric had this kind of crummy little room, and he's like, I can't edit in here. I need like, this is just just not working. And so I had at the time, I had some friends who like pretty much like opened up an art space in Newark, which was a town over. And so we like rented out a studio in this like art gallery slash studio space, and kind of just worked in there. And as an artist, I was like turned into my first art studio. I was there for like years after we were done with the film, but that is where we did our first screening too, and it was just sort of this like big community of people. So and yeah, and then we were in the studio kind of editing. There were just various amounts of fighting. We're like literally probably fighting over editing video of us fighting.
Yeah, literally. And from an emotional standpoint, you know, like our mom had passed away not very soon before this, and I was editing all these home videos that I'd never
Yeah.
seen before.
We had just been. This was like our first apartment on our own outside of the house.
It was like a therapeutic experience, but I was also like still mourning. So
Yeah.
it was a unique experience that I don't know if I'll ever. I don't know if I'll ever work on a project this emotional ever again. I don't think it's possible.
That'd probably be pretty tough.
No, that would be quite hard to go through all of that again, unless it was something that was ultra close to you. But a project that you would get hired for, I don't think would be anything as tough as what you've already gone through.
Right.
So what does the future look like for both of you? Eric, you are a filmmaker, so what are your next projects in the pipeline?
Honestly, I do this for a living now, so
Amazing.
Project wise, like I don't really have. I did a artist profile of my friend who makes coffee, and I really like doing that. I like telling stories, and I don't need to tell my own for a while. I don't think so. I like getting other people's stories. Creators, especially people who I think are unique. Like his family, he grew up in an Italian family from New Jersey, and they made wine and coffee, and I just thought he had a really cool story, and I captured it, and it's like a 10 to 15-minute video. So, yeah, just stuff like that, little mini documentaries. But honestly, I also just work on a lot of stuff just to pay bills and stuff. So, a lot of various projects going on.
Yeah, he's grateful to be able to do it for a living.
Yeah.
And Kevin, you said that you do art. What kind of art do you do? You're an artist.
I paint. Yeah, there's nothing really behind me is mine.
No, I was gonna say okay.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Nice.
Yeah, so I paint sort of like abstract landscapes a lot of times. It's like I'm also a graphic designer by day, so a lot of it's kind of like really graphical. I also do music. I'm working on an album right now.
For those that missed it, if you weren't able to hear, you also did the soundtrack for the documentary, correct?
Yeah, which was really interesting, like looking back, because I had not really been playing guitar that long, and he kind of inspired a lot of the ideas, like a lot of the playing on that. It's like, okay, you just need to play something for like 5 seconds, and like that was like a new concept to me. Like there was like never really a moment where when you're playing music where you're playing like a 5-second song. So it was just like trying to like come up with these transitions. Really was like what it was used for mostly. Like there were some like longer parts, but a lot of it was just kind of like adding some ambiance in the background. So it was definitely an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
And our friends Rom and Greg recorded it all, who are musicians in their own right. Nice.
Would you consider ever scoring a film or a different film again?
That it would be very interesting. I would. I'm surrounded by so many talented musicians in my life that I'd find it really funny like if someone in my friend group reached out.
Yeah.
I would totally do it. Yeah. That would be cool. I like doing it. It's kind of like, I don't know. I'm sure like I would. I'm not a film scorer or whatever you call the musicians, but I'm sure I need to consult them. But it was easier than I thought it would be. I just kind of like played short snippets of things.
Yeah.
And video is really interesting because once you put sound to video, it's just like stuff starts like clicking together. And like as an artist, it's just like I think the video and the music medium, it's like a very full medium, and you're kind of like encapsulating these two like, you know, like practices and bringing them together. So it was like pretty fulfilling as an
Nice.
artist, like, you know.
So you both have a creative flair between you. Where did this stem from? Was there a particular, Eric, for yourself, why did you want to become a documentary filmmaker? Was there a particular project that inspired you to take on this industry and become a filmmaker? And I guess the same question for you, Kevin. Why do you find that you need to have this creative, or not need to, you're just have an amazing opportunity to work in art as a painter or whatever it may be?
So for me, I remember I like went to a normal 4-year school and it did not work out very well. So I moved back home and I started working with my parents' company, and I realized pretty quickly that I was like better with a camera than both of them were. I just kind of had a natural eye for it, and I never really before that considered myself a creative person. Kevin was always very creative, but I didn't think of myself that way, and I ended up going to the same school he did because I would visit and I liked it, and then like I just like really got into it, and I did very well at that school, and yeah, just kind of from there. And the fact that my parents, I had such an easy access, like they got me my first camera when I expressed interest because they could use it for their business, so it just, you know, it was like a business expense for them. So I'm very fortunate to have had the accessibility to the tools that I needed to get started.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it's funny, but Planet Earth had just come out at the time, and I just thought it was amazing. And yeah, that was like the thing that made me want to get into documentaries. And I think I saw a couple. Yeah, that was the thing.
The catalyst.
Yeah, the catalyst. That was
Planet
one.
Earth
But
is pretty epic as well, so it's a great one.
David Attenborough.
Yeah. And Kevin?
Yeah, I didn't really make art like too much as a kid, but I think I've always like kind of thought like an artist, and I think I owe that probably a lot to my mom, who like would always be like, oh, I don't have a creative bone in my body, but like yet she literally filmed half of this film.
Yeah.
And probably deserves, looking back, filmer's credit.
Yeah.
So, but I think more so like she was just always very like, she would push us to do like whatever like she saw, like whatever direction we wanted to go in, she would like be like, do it, you know. She was very like supportive. And so I think like I started messing around on the computer, like I was playing video games, and like I was on this forum and like made little images under your forum posts, and I was like, cool, what is that? And then someone's like, oh, it's Photoshop. And so I started messing around with that, and then did a few things, and then started doing like t-shirts for my friends' bands. And my mom was like, oh, you should like go to school for graphic design. And I was like, oh yeah, that I guess makes sense. And once I just started like making stuff and having like a creative output, like it really kind of I didn't really feel like I had much of an identity before that. I was just kind of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and then it just sort of like just made sense, you know. And then at some point, so I was doing a lot of stuff like computer design stuff, and then like it kind of moved into digital art, and then I read a book on Basquiat, and I was like, I'm gonna paint. And then yeah, I was always kind of like, I always loved music. I always wanted to play music. I never thought I was really good at it, but then I sort of started going to art shows and like getting involved in the art scene, and there was just a ton of musicians surrounded like in that scene, and I made all these friends who are musicians, and they just kept, you know, they just taught me some things on guitar, which I was kind of playing around with, and it just kind of went from there.
Nice. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the creative field is just such a release. As much as it is painful at times, depending on what you're working on, the rewards after once you've completed something, there's nothing else like it in other industries, in my opinion. But that's because I'm a creative as well. So my final question then, and I'm just going to check over to the chat room. Everyone's still hearing us loud and clear, so that's good. What's next for the project? Where is it? Has it got any screenings coming up? Are you looking to distribute it? What's the plan moving forward?
honestly, after 10 years of having it just kind of be stagnant, I just wanted it to be watchable. I considered doing another screening locally. I'm not sure. I have to find the right space for that. But you can just go to theboysfilm.com and watch it right now if you want to.
Yeah, and this festival is really like nice for us.
Yeah.
It kind of like reinvigorated the whole project for us.
Yeah, just even, you know, I know the production value of the film isn't great, and there are other films in this festival that have very big production values. Like, we did a Kickstarter, we got $3,500, and that paid for the road trip, and then everything else was out of pocket. Yeah, Liftoff, just the Audience Choice Award, I think, is so fitting because the audience that we have funded the project, and then they also supported the project. Like, I had people reach out to me who I haven't talked to in years, saying they watched the film. Like, it's a feature, it's an hour-long film, it's a lot to ask for somebody to watch the whole thing, and they told me how much they loved it.
Yeah.
I think just because it's a family film, you know, anybody can kind of relate to
I think we just like people seeing it at this point, so
Yeah.
we'll probably figure out some stuff in the future, but we're just glad people are seeing it.
Yeah.
No, I'm so happy to hear that. That's exactly why you should be making a film, to share your stories and reach out to other people and have them reach back. So, yeah, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for being a part of our festival as well. Naomi and Mo, do you have any questions for Eric and Kevin?
I don't. It's very clear what they intended to do and what they accomplished.
Nice. Naomi?
Yeah, I thought that was very daring to go through your whole life story and just display it to the whole world. So congrats.
Thank you.
Nice. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next project. Actually, is there a question here? How to take on a dual role film? Is that a question? I'm not sure. It doesn't have a question mark, but maybe we can answer that a little bit later on. So we're going to move on to Mo's project now, which is a music video. Should we try and screen it, and if it doesn't work, we'll come back to this page? So if you are listening in, please do let us know if all of a sudden we disappear. But let's try your film.
Which I then collaborated with, officially with Facebook headquarters in London in 2019, and Facebook and Twitter headquarters in London in 2018 for a collaboration of that, which they then used and Facebook in its own film for 6,000 staff. So fast forward from there, I wrote "Download My Heart" as a song, and then I realized that it could be converted into an app song. So I added "Download My Heart" in New York, "Download My Heart" in
Perfect.
London, and so on.
Sorry, Mo, we can't screen the film muted in the background because it isn't coming through. Your sound isn't coming through. So if you could, can you all hear us now that we're back on this screen?
I can hear you.
Yeah, and I can hear you perfectly fine as well. That's why it's really hard for me to test whilst we're online. Yep, so as soon as the video stops, we can hear it. So I think it's more important that we find out from the filmmakers directly than screening their work. I do apologise for this technical issue. If you were watching as part of the festival, then hopefully you managed to watch these projects when they were screening with us on Vimeo on demand. But I think for the purpose of what we're doing right now, the interview is way more important. So Mo, if you could give us a 20-second recap of everything you just said, we'll start again. Thank you for those that are watching and for informing us.
Well, my inventions in digital technology, which became 9 U.S. patents, and I licensed Apple and many other companies, fast forwarded into digital culture, of which Download My Heart is an example, which in turn got evolved into the world's first app song, Download My Heart, in New York, in LA, in London, in the metaverse. And the metaverse has even more possibilities. It's the world's first song about the metaverse, an only song, and it's distributed by Universal Music Group worldwide.
Amazing.
So there you are.
Thank you, and thank you again for everyone who's in the chat room warning us. So it started with, which city did it start with? This.
Excuse me?
Which city did Download My Heart
New
start
York.
with? New York.
Download My Heart, New York. That was our first one, and then followed by London, since they are effectively twin cities across the Atlantic, then Download My Heart in Dubai, and Download My Heart in the metaverse, and Download My Heart in LA.
Nice.
I got something like 60 plus awards from 36 film festivals.
Amazing.
All my songs are fast because I think life is faster than most music, and people live on their phones, and so the way I do it is I have the songs are lyrics led, so it's slow walk the lyrics across the fast song, in order for it to be enjoyable on one level in terms of your dancing. It's like a pop EDM style music, and at the same time, it explores the world we live in today. As I have said before on your show, when the Beatles came, they said, "Why are we singing about yesterday? Yesterday's music, yesterday's words, yesterday's images?" They said, "No, we should do it from as it is today." And when they did that, it broke the mold, and everything changed overnight. So in that, I also feel that everything will change. That most of the music, the film, and other industries are backward looking. Even in my GIFs, 463 million people who have selected and shared my GIFs. I did long form GIFs, 25 seconds long, as opposed to 4 or 5 seconds. And so that means if I succeeded in that, we got no promotion from me or Universal Music or Jiffy. It means there was an existing demand. It just wasn't filled.
Yeah, definitely. And finding the demand or finding your audience is the most important thing when you're looking to create a project that you want to distribute. So I think it's great that you've done that. So what is next? You've obviously conquered the world, and now you're in the metaverse. Where could you possibly go from here?
Well, I have a video game which was ready by November. Shio #Queen Superhero. So she's a video game character who sings in real life for real. That is to say, she raises awareness with the public for her fights for justice in the game. So she's like a James Bond Tarzan. She does not kill her opponents, the bad guys in the gangs. She just disables them. So there's no blood and gore. So we're looking for a distribution partner to get that game out. And for the Download My Heart series, we're looking for Hollywood to convert this to a rom-com feature or a TV series.
Nice. That's the hot question at the moment. Do you continue making features, or do you switch it over to a mini series? And the demand.
No, Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say the demand for miniseries at this moment in time, whether that's documentary or narrative, it's high. So just depends on what your producers and which angle you're going down.
Well, we hope that we want to scale it up to the large production companies that can use this as a feature, as a rom-com feature or TV series. And following your advice on the last couple of interviews ago, when you suggested that the Download My Heart series can be in for example, New York or the city, the app song could be addressed to various cities around the world to promote themselves, right? So we addressed that to Seattle, and the mayor of Seattle, Bruce Carroll, who just won the election, wrote us back saying, "I am honored to collaborate with you."
Amazing.
For his city. So there you are. Your prediction came true.
Yeah, and it works with tourism as well, raising awareness of different cities around the world. If this is the structure you're going down, then you have unlimited destinations and where you could take this music video. So lots of possibilities for your project. So you mentioned there that it's done extremely well on the festival circuit. Have you managed to go to many live screenings recently?
No, I don't. I mean, all these I don't go to them. They selected because my music is very catchy, and the lyrics are very catchy. The video is edited in a very fast and cool way, and it makes their film festivals look good.
I hear what you're saying.
Compared to a lot of the films they have.
Okay. I think it's super important for filmmakers to attend film festivals, just because you never know who you're going to meet. Meeting your contemporaries and seeing something on screen that you really connect with, and then you're able to meet that person there, and then you can start building a relationship or building a collaborative relationship. Then that is, I think, the most important thing for film festivals. So,
fair enough.
So yeah, no, that was what I was going to say. So clearly, we're on different paths there. But you mentioned also that you come from the music industry background, and that's why you've fallen in, or that's why you're doing this.
It was a progression from the songs. The songs gave life to the film part of it, and then the video game part.
So
all my philosophy is in that, meaning that I reflect my works reflect, express and celebrate the new world.
And you've talked a lot about technology and the new world and always looking forward. So apart from that little quote from the Beatles, what inspired you to take on this journey?
Well, because the future has a direction but no path. So it's up to us to create the path. And I'm a pioneer by nature, so I'm good with that.
Fantastic.
It doesn't deter me.
Nice.
As a matter of fact, that's how I challenge myself.
Perfect. It's good. So you wake up every day with a spring in your step, getting to that next step.
More or less, yes.
More or less, yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Eric, Kevin, Naomi, do you have any questions for Mo?
Yeah, I watched the video. What software did you use for that?
Good question.
Well, we edit on Final Cut Pro, and we get clips, and we also use our own clips, and it's a mix between the two.
Okay.
Because I'm the metaverse is brand new, so you have to get it from various special effects houses that already have that, and you need to buy that and mix it with your own footage in order to create a story like that.
Nice. Yeah. Well, Has anyone seen anything else that's in the metaverse, like any of the fashion shows that have been going on down there in that world? It's all very new and all a little bit robotic, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's it's our avatars. I mean, we are already very friendly with our phones in the form of they are our robots, but they're drones in our lives, since they anticipate what we're going to buy or get into. So we are already there. Um, and COVID has shown us that we are and are fully capable of functioning there. So I think it's pushed us, into the onto the doorstep of the metaverse already.
Well, let's see how it grows and grows and grows as the years go by. Naomi, did you have any final thoughts before we move on to your project?
I just thought it was really cool. I like the effects. I like the way that it kind of brings you into this like digital journey, and it was a lot of fun to watch.
Perfect. Well, Mo, good luck with everything, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Natalie.
So, Naomi, we are unable to screen your film as it goes muted. So, are you happy for us to interview you in this form instead?
Sure.
Thank you. Great. So, tell us a little bit more about Trespass in Dwelling. How was this story born?
Well, I wrote this story a couple years back. It was a pretty interesting time in my life. I had like an injury that put me out of work for quite some time. So I had a lot of time with myself to kind of just sit there and think. And I really got to this point where like, wow, like I need to do something because I'm very creative. I do art, I do music, I do writing, and trying to figure out where I fit in that path, because choosing one thing was always hard for me to do. Like, should I go to school for this? Should I go to school for that? But ultimately, I was like, I need something that involves everything that I do. And filming is what came to mind. I'm like, honestly, you can include artwork in the film, you can make music, you can, write it. And so I'm like, all right, so I need to do something big. And I need to go all the way and see how far I can push it. And this is how I started writing, and I got into this story of something that I feel a lot of people can relate to, especially nowadays, feeling really isolated. Funny thing that COVID kind of started a little bit right after I finished filming this. A lot of people can be on their own, they can stuck with their thoughts, and sometimes we are the ones that can make ourselves think that everything around us is against us. So when it comes down to Trespass in Dwelling, Celine, the main character, is about a young girl in her early 20s who goes through a really traumatic breakup, and she just feels really lost. And through feeling lost, she writes in her journal, and she starts to put out all her thoughts, and she just happens to be in this really beautiful landscape, but it's on haunted grounds. So she almost awakens this energy that was first initially inside of her, and now it has manifested in physical form. So throughout that journey, in the movie you'll be able to see, she starts to question everything that's positive or negative, or if her best friend is really being genuine. And throughout that, you'll get to see that in the film.
Perfect. I've got a few notes on the casting, because the chemistry between the two actors is really, well, I thought it was really well done. So one of my questions was, how did you find your actresses? And secondly, what was the rehearsal period like before you started shooting?
So me being relatively new into filming, I really wanted to make sure that my actors and actresses were at least going to be very committed. So up here in Massachusetts, from where I'm from, UMass Theater is not too far from me, the UMass College. So I went to a few plays, and I started to watch some of the actors and got information like, ooh, I like her. ooh, I like him. Like, and they work well together on stage. And ended up like reaching out and doing like kind of like, hey, let's meet at Starbucks, and I have this great idea, and I think you'd be great for it. And a lot of them were really into the idea. And funny story, towards the end, the main character Celine and the boyfriend were actually a couple in real life. And when I didn't even realize, because until after the fact, I'm like, oh, well, that just kind of works out in a way.
And that's
So
why the chemistry was there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting since it's kind of like a negative relationship in the film, which they had to kind of work around. But I think because of that, it kind of flew really naturally. Yeah.
And obviously, if this was your first, well, this is your first film that you did. Looking at the process that you had with the actors, casting them from a theatre, then did you do much rehearsal, or was it more straight into filming?
Yeah, actually, after I got the interviews with them and they accepted, which everyone was compensated for, I arranged some rehearsals. There was like a public library where you can rent out a big conference room.
Nice.
Where we had lights and cameras, and we kind of had them sitting together. A lot of them didn't necessarily work together until that very first day, especially Emily, the best friend character. So we did rehearsals there. We ran through some lines. I actually also drew out the storyboard for the film, so everyone got to see like, oh, okay, so it's in this perspective, or I'm in this kind of scenery.
Nice.
And then a few other times we did go outside and get to practice some of the scenes outside, which I was very lucky that every single shoot we had really nice weather, which is hard to plan, a year in advance. But seems like every weekend that we filmed, we got very lucky on good weather.
So how long did it take you to shoot the film from start to finish?
I would say it took an entire summer, only because I wanted to have a really beautiful kind of intro. I really wanted to have like a nice aerial shot. So I was like, okay, I need to get a drone.
Yeah.
Because I want to get some nice cinematic shots. I need to have some good gear. So I invested in a drone, and actually my very good friend Bill helped me a lot with getting some locations out. I flew out to Auburn, California, just to get the really beautiful intro with the lake and the trees and a few other shots. And with Bill, up here in the Berkshires in Bernardston, Mass, is where we shot The Hill. So I was like, all right, well, these kind of trees and those kind of trees kind of work together. So it's like, movie magic. So it kind of worked out really well. So a lot of the shots there, so that took time, just traveling to Cali, coming back, sites, like getting locations. And even in the restaurant shot was Mama Rico's Italian restaurant out here. We had to get like permission from really great local businesses to film inside the restaurant. But all in all, a lot of traveling back and forth. But I would say it took about a whole summer from like June until like almost end of September.
Wow. Well, it paid off. It definitely paid off. In the future, I'm not sure. Well, maybe depending on which aim you want to go down. But having that much time on a shoot is quite rare, especially for a short film. Sometimes it's like 2 days, 3 days, and it's done. But then if you're quite a small team, doing it your way will definitely make sure that you capture every shot and every image and idea that you had that you wanted to try. So I think you've done it the correct way. Well, it sounds like you have. Talking about locations, that was one of my questions, because obviously you are shooting in a restaurant and you also have another location. How did you come across these locations? And you kind of touched upon getting permission. Did you have to get any permits, or was it just permission based that you had to go through in order to shoot in those locations?
So it was a little tricky because there was one scene where there was like a somewhat fight between the two main characters, Celine and Derek. So when we came down to trying to get like an outdoor shot, we did have to reach out and then have like a brief description of what our expectations were. And because of that nature, they were charging. I think it was the Quabbin Reservoir. They're kind of strict about it, so they're like, okay, we'll do it, but you have to pay us like, it was like $250 an hour just to shoot. And I'm like, oh my god, like if we're just trying to get a couple shots, that's it's gonna add up, especially
Yeah.
if majority of my shooting is outdoors. So I was like, okay. But with my friend Bill, he is very connected with the community. He actually lives in Bernardston, Mass, and he's like, oh yeah, actually there's this place right down the block for me, and I know a lot of the locals, and as long as I tell them what we're doing, we'll be okay. So I was like, that works for me, because that hill was very beautiful, and I can totally use that spot. For the restaurant, that's also one of Bill's friends, so he helped a lot getting us to those certain locations. And the family from Mama Rico's are very nice people, so they were very happy to help out.
Amazing. It's all about learning who's in your circle and what you can location-wise use, props use, costumes in order to get a film off the ground. So very lucky to have Bill as part of the project. I guess then I just wanted to touch upon the final couple of things was the special effects that you used within the film, and then go back to your creativity and wanting to be a filmmaker, and if there was any projects that inspired you to take on this industry. So let's start with the special effects. We can't obviously show it, but tell me a little bit more about how that came around.
So I was very fortunate to get to work with Ron and Dwayne. They're very talented. Ron is a cinematographer and the editor. Originally back in the day, we did like music videos together, or there was like a Bluetooth speaker commercial that we worked together. And I was like, when I was writing this, I was like, I really need to work with somebody who's legit, who's really going to commit, and who has quality skill.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, Ron, of course. So when I reached out to Ron, we met up, and it's like, hey, I've been really wanting to work on, creating a film. Have you thought about doing that? And he was like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. And I actually have this friend Dwayne, who's really talented in music and acting as well. So Dwayne was our sound engineer, which we ended up collaborating together on the music, sound effects, and everything else too. But without those two guys, like the quality of all of us three together, like the Three Musketeers, like we really made the whole thing come together.
Amazing. Well, thank you. And then I guess my final question is, was there a particular film, or what is your favorite film that inspired you to pursue this industry?
So I have a combination of favorites. My favorite kind of spooky movies are like The Conjuring, Annabelle, those kind of films.
Yeah.
I think are really cool, and I kind of grew up in a haunted house as a kid, so I already have that like connection where it's like, oh, I can tell that's fake. Oh, ooh, that's believable. So it's like just having that kind of experience growing up and being able to possibly put it in story and put it on film. So that really inspired me, like just seeing how those films came together. Even Quentin Tarantino, he's one of my all-time favorites as well.
We could have a whole debate on Quentin Tarantino and his films.
Gosh,
But
yeah. So moving forward, I do plan on starting a graphic novel, because my next project will be very, very big. It will probably require a bigger budget, but at least if I can get it on paper, dry it out, it could be a manifestation for the future, for sure.
a graphic novel is a really great way to get your story on paper, just as you said, because then it also turns into your storyboard. It's laid out like a storyboard. It visually, when you're looking at different investors to get people on board, they can instantly see what you're trying to do. So I always champion when people say graphic novels, that they're going to look at doing that. There was a film that screened in Cannes this year called Falcon Lake, and it's by a filmmaker called Charlotte Le Bon, and that was an adaptation from a graphic novel.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely check it out if it comes to America. I'm not sure if it's there yet, but Falcon Lake It's really, really fun film. Has a little spooky element to it as well.
Nice.
But actually, we didn't find out what Eric and Kevin's favorite films are, and we didn't find out what Mo's is either. So, if you could pick one film, Naomi, what would you say is your favorite film of all time?
Oh, that's tough. Of all time, I don't really have one. I just know I'm really into the spooky genre.
That's a good
if
answer.
I had to pick one, I guess I would have to say The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. Okay, cool. Who wants to go first, Eric or Kevin?
I'll go. Mine's a weird one. I don't really know. I like Hook by Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great one. Soundtrack is just amazing. It's just something about not giving up on childhood. I don't know. Something about that song just kind of so that one.
Nice. Kevin?
I think if I had to pick Rumblefish by Coppola, because it's just like kind of it's mostly black and white, kind of like a really creative way, kind of like dark and weird, and then like pops of color come in at the end, and Tom Waits is in it, and I really like his acting, so it's really fun.
Nice. Fab. And Mo?
Oh, if I had to pick one, Casablanca.
Casablanca, a classic. Nice. Thank you. And then on that note, Eric, Kevin, Mo, do you have any questions for Naomi before we wrap up today's stream?
Sure. Can you watch horror movies alone?
Absolutely, even before bed. I don't get scared very easily.
So what would you say is just the scariest film you've ever seen then?
Scariest film? I guess I would have to go back to like The Conjuring, because I feel like whoever wrote that film or whoever watches that film can either relate to growing up in a haunted house or just know what's really spooky. So I'm hoping that I can, down the road, be part of that same industry.
Amazing. You should become a member of Shudder if you're not already.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Do you know what Shudder is? It's just the horror VOD platform.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And a film recommendation, if you haven't seen it, is The Descent. The Descent. It's not that scary, it's just jump scares, if you like that. It's really good at that. Cool. Okay. All right, well, thank you so much. And I'm really sorry that we had some technical issues and that the stream didn't go 100% to plan. And thank you to everyone who's watching. You guys have been great at keeping us on track with the sound as well. And thank you for supporting our filmmakers here today. Great. If you guys want to stay on the line, I'm just going to end the stream and then I can catch up with you. But thank you to everyone who joined us.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.